So we're about to see Flight9 here. So give me a rundown. Like right now, we're T-minus 4.5 hours. What's going through your head right now?
I have a lot going through my head, actually. Just thinking about the various ways the rocket can fail, which are many.
Yeah.
But what we're hoping to achieve today is we want to obviously get the like by far the most important thing is the high heating phase of re-entry, and see how the tiles perform during the hypersonic max heating.
Yep.
And also on the basically this is think of this as a tiles mission.
Yeah.
It's all about the tiles.
Yep.
So do the tiles stay on, or do they shake off? It's pretty hard keeping tiles on a rocket when it is shaking, like more shaking than you could possibly imagine shaking would be.
Yep.
Like the vibration and acoustics
Yep.
are like beyond human comprehension.
Yeah.
And the ceramic tiles are like basically are brittle, like they're like a coffee cup or a dinner plate. So like got this whole like shaking metal rocket that's got cryogenic propellant, so it's like shrinking due to the cryogenics. Then it's being pressurized, so it's puffing up like a balloon.
Yep.
Then it's got body bending.
Yep.
So and it's shaking. So it's like, how do you keep these dinner plates from falling off,
Yeah.
or cracking
Extremely
or whatever?
Dynamic.
Yeah. So, no, we do keep the vast majority of them on, but some of them fall off, and then we're going to find out, like, why did they fall off? Like, what do we need to do to fix that?
Mm-hmm.
Why do they crack? And then for high heating reentry, you've got some parts of the rocket that see much higher heat than other parts. So, like the areas around the flaps, where you've got sort of concentrations of hot plasma.
Yeah.
That needs extra care. Like the hinge area where the flaps are hinging. How do you protect that hinge gap? Because the plasma wants to group up there and then create like a rapids, so you get like a Venturi effect, or it's really just like a high pressure buildup ahead of the flap hinge. That if you're not careful, will then create a heat concentrator and cook your hinge.
Yeah.
So it's really, I'd say that it's the areas around where there's discontinuities around the flaps that are the most sensitive, and just figuring out like what more do we need to do to improve the tiles, and like do we need to add like different change the size of the gap in certain areas?
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to add gap filler? Like there's like so many like nuanced. That's why I call it like this the tiles mission.
Yeah.
It's all about tiles.
Well, and you even have those metallic tiles and like an actively cooled tile. Like what's the story on some of that stuff?
In some areas, it may make sense for us to have active cooling. Active cooling, it takes mass to do active cooling.
Right.
So you don't want to do that everywhere.
Right.
But some places, for extra, assurance, you might do active cooling.
And are we talking like, is it just flowing like methane through it and then bleeding it out somewhere else? It's not like transpirational cooling, or like what's the current test on it? Is it like
I wouldn't read too much into like there's a lot of ways to deal with that. Like hopefully we don't have to use active cooling. So that's not a primary approach. It's something we'll do if we have to, and if we can't solve the tile erosion issues any other way.
Mm-hmm.
And the easiest, it's not like the most, I guess, thermally efficient would be to take like liquid methane or something like that, liquid hydrogen, and use latent heat vaporization and whatnot, and that would be the best. But it's like that's operationally difficult.
Right.
So the easier thing to do is just to take a gas, ullage gas,
mm-hmm.
And use that as a like methane ullage gas, and use that as a coolant in certain areas if necessary. But hopefully not. I mean, there are other things we can do. Like we can, anyway. There's about like 20 different things you can do to solve the problem. We just need to solve the problem.
Right.
So, and there's like a lot of discussion, online and in the various forums and whatnot, because there are a lot of ways to skin the cat type of thing. It's it's a terrible metaphor, but the point thing is that the cat gets skinned at the end of the day, and then you arrive at some solution that enables full reusability. That's the key. It's like, can you land the rocket, and without any kind of laborious inspection? Maybe you spend like half an hour just visually scanning the tiles.
Yeah.
But you can't like go and like test every tile and
make sure the gaps are perfect.
Yeah, and do 40,000 tile tests.
Yeah.
It's got to be like it lands, you refill propellant, unless like a whole bunch of tiles fell off, you just take off again.
Yeah.
That rapid reusability is the key.
So you're kind of planning, trying your hardest to make sure they don't fall off, and if they do fall off, you have some ablative material behind that as a backup for now.
Yeah, but if they really we need to make them not fall off, because if a bunch of tiles are falling off, then we're just not going to have a rapid reusability situation.
Yeah.
Like we're going to go in there and like stick new tiles on.
Right.
That's going to take a while.
Because when you're saying rapid reusability, you're talking about literally landing, restacking, same day, reflying. Within hours.
I mean, within an hour of landing type of thing.
And how far, like, is that required?
That's like what airplanes can do.
Yeah, it's what airplanes do.
Yeah, what cars can do.
Is this required, like, this rapid reusability, is that required for, like, Artemis refueling? Do we have to be at that cadence of once a day type of cadence?
I mean, Artemis, the goals for Artemis are so small. They're like, Artemis just needs bolder ambitions. Like, I think we should adapt Artemis to say, like, let's have a base on the moon, not just like go do a remake of a great movie from 1969.
Right.
Which will never be, the remake's never going to be as good.
Right.
So the goals of Artemis, I think, are feeble. They're just objectively feeble. So we should either do a base on the moon, or we should send people to Mars, not just try to, do the same thing they did, 56 years ago.
Right.
Like that's feeble.
Yeah, yeah.
So, no, I mean the goal of Starship is it's to make life multiplanetary, to extend consciousness beyond Earth, and in order to do that, you have to be able to take, millions of tons of cargo, people, and whatnot, from Earth to Mars. We could take them to the moon too. Moon is not as well suited for creating another civilization. For planetary redundancy, you need another planet, really.
Right.
So that's hence the focus on Mars, which obviously you're aware of. But so in order to make life multiplanetary, such that Mars is self-sustaining, with the key branching point for human destiny, or destiny of consciousness as a whole, being that Mars is self-sustaining even if the resupply ships from Earth stop coming, which is the critical. That's the branching point.
Yeah.
Like, you're not multiplanetary until the planet can grow by itself.
Yeah. That makes sense.
And because there's always some risk of technology on Earth falling below a certain level, or a nuclear war, or meteor or something. Who knows?
Yep.
So you haven't secured the future, of civilization and consciousness until both planets can survive independently.
Yep.
And so the goal of SpaceX is try to get to the point where Mars can survive by itself and grow by itself as quickly as possible.
Yep.
Which requires millions of tons, or at least 1 million tons, to the surface of Mars of useful load, and reducing the cost per ton to the surface of Mars by a factor of 1,000 to maybe 10,000, if not more than 10,000. So currently the cost per ton to the surface of Mars is about $1 billion.
Yeah.
You can't get civilization can't afford to. We can't afford to build Mars at $1 billion a ton.
Right.
I mean, that's insane.
Close.
So, I mean, even $1 million a ton is still high.
Right.
So $1 million a ton is 1,000-fold improvement. but you'd really rather be at like 100,000 a ton, which is still also like a lot, you know. But so I think aspiration should be get cost per ton to Mars under $100,000 a ton, which is a 10,000-fold improvement from where things are today. So that's a pretty high bar.
Right.
Or thought of another way, where it needs to make things 1,000,000% better.
Yeah. That's
like actually 1,000,000% better.
Literally, yeah. That's big ambitions, and unfortunately, I'm getting we're running out of time already because you got a few things to go here, and we got to launch literally a rocket on the pad, waiting for Flight 9. So, best of luck today. We'll be cheering for you and hoping for the best.
All right, cool.
All right, thanks, Elon.